This is a match that I just played on the ladder that should be a good example of how not to panic under pressure. I lose multiple worker lines this game, but I keep getting back to my plan, which I know I spawned against Protoss, so my plan here is going to be that I go hatchery first, and then I try to see what my opponent's doing. If I need to hold an all-in, I do. If not, I try to take a third base, and then I try to get Hydralisks with their attack upgrade, and then also Zerglings and Banelings, so you gotta put something in front of your Hydralisks so they don't just all die. So it starts out with all my normal things. I make the hatchery on 17, then I make an 18 gas and an 18 spawning pool. It's a little bit later on a spawning pool than a lot of people do. They do 18 and then 17 on the spawning pool. It's not actually completely safe against certain very aggressive builds, but it's been so long since I've seen any of those in non-Zerg versus Zerg matchups, I don't concern myself with them. I have been starting to send my Overlord here to scout and double check that I'm not getting cannon rushed. This map actually is one of the shortest rush distances in the current ladder pool, so you definitely need to check it on this particular map. Should really just check it on every map anyway. But then I have it queued up to go over here and watch for a potential third base. I queue up another Overlord to go up this way and look for a potential third base up there too. Because this map has kind of a weird destructible rock thing between your natural and this potential third, which on my side of the map is my natural and the third that's north of it. So the ledge here is kind of abusable by drop play, but that's normally only really a thing versus Terran. The Protoss normally just warp a thing in and then attack you with it. They can juggle Immortals up and down the cliff, I guess, but I haven't seen a whole lot of that either. That's such an all-in that I'm not going to have 3 bases before that happens anyway. So my Overlord gets over here and sees no base for my opponent. So I immediately queue up a couple more Overlords, because I'm going to send this one into their base and see what's going on. Get up here, I go, uh-oh, there are no buildings here making a wall, there is no nexus, my opponent is doing something aggressive. So I start sending out my Zerglings once they hatch around to parts of the map to check if there's a proxy pylon down. I send this Overlord in, I queue up an extra Overlord in case this one dies. Get up here, it's a gateway. I do end up getting up here and seeing that this is a Stargate. I even see that it's building an Oracle. I don't know if they fixed the bug so you can see it in the replay yet, but during the game I was able to tell it was an Oracle. Let's see. Yeah, you can see that's an Oracle right there in the Stargate. So I know I need to make some spores back at home. I need to make some... I do make some extra queens. One spore at each base is enough to hold off a single Oracle to not take too much damage. If you also have some extra queens, you can frequently gun down the Oracle, so they don't get to keep it for later in the game without having to remake one. You can't just take your army for free. I'm not sure about my opponent's SimCity here. I feel like this is 2 holes in the wall, but maybe this pylon's really in the right place. Maybe that's a complete wall, I don't actually know. It doesn't look right to me, but I don't play any Protoss. So there's their Oracle popping. My Zerglings have gone just various places on the map to keep an eye on attack paths. I did see it with the one Zergling, the Oracle flew over it. I already knew that was coming because I had that information from my previous scout. So you see my spores, I get started a little bit late. I send this queen a little bit too quickly down here, but my other queen does a fine enough job of combating the Oracle here that ends up having to leave. Goes over to my natural where my spore is actually on time. And I have all 3 of my other queens there, so I end up getting the Oracle. So my opponent did end up killing some workers there. 4 workers, not the end of the world. It's fine. Like, that's an acceptable loss. Ideally, you'd maybe only lose 2, but it wasn't huge problem. Now, I have a problem here that I don't follow up scout pretty much ever this game. So I have no idea what my opponent is doing. I'm just going to try to do my plan, which is... You know, I held the Oracle. I really should be getting a third base right now, but I'm a little bit behind because it threw me off, even though I see Oracles in a lot of games against Protoss. I'm still making workers here. Once I have the 2-base saturation, I really should be starting to make a third base and tech. So I'm just way behind. But I should be going back and checking out what my opponent's doing, because they made a Twilight Council, then they made a Dark Shrine to get Dark Templar. See that they're researching Charge here. I could go in there and see they're researching something. You can't tell which particular upgrade they're researching during the game, but you can still see they're upgrading something for a gateway unit there. Missing my injects over here too with my queens. That's kind of a problem. You really got to have the larva to be able to produce. My money's getting really high up here. I did make a bunch of extra overlords with the thought that I was going to make some hydralisks once the layer finished, so that I have free supply for that. My opponent's just now getting their natural expansion up. That is super late, which means they're doing another attack here. But I have not gone back and scouted at all. The only thing I've done is kept an eye on the third base here and the third base here to see if anything was taken. But I have no information about what my opponent is doing beyond that they don't have a third base, which, of course they don't. They haven't even got their natural yet. So there's a Dark Templar moving across the map. They don't even have a proxy pile, and they're walking them the entire way across the map. Did they even build a robo to have a warp prism? Nope. Doesn't look like it. Let's see, there's a structures tab that tells me that. Yeah, no robo. So they just have cannons for detection and no robotics units. So the Dark Templar come over here. I'm completely unprepared because I still only have detection here at my base as the Spore Crawlers. So I end up killing this one that was researching +1 attack. I end up canceling +1 armor because I don't have detection here yet until I morph this Overseer. And I only have these 4 Zerglings as army units. So drones are not super effective against Dark Templar. Actually, Zerglings aren't either. You really want to morph them into Banelings. So they wipe out a whole bunch of my workers with this attack before I manage to clean it up. If I don't panic, I keep doing my plan once I get the attack cleaned up. So they clean up everything at this base, all my workers, my queen, a whole bunch of Zerglings that didn't do much, so they ate the Dark Templar shields. I do have detection now, so I can see them. They do try to come up here and pick off more workers at my main in a second. By now I do have my Hydralisk done up, so I'm starting to try to make some Hydralisks to combat these long range. Unfortunately, I managed to get up here and get another queen, but I do manage to run all my drones. You see right there, they pass through other units. That's a ability Mineral Walk. If you right-click on minerals for your workers to gather, to move them there, they will move through enemy units. It won't work on enemy structures, but it does work with enemy units. So I eventually pull up enough of an army to deal with the Dark Templar. I've had the Overseer floating around with them for a while. But I take way more losses than I should have. All I need to do is have made 1 or 2 spines at each base along with the spores with a lot of money I was floating earlier. So my plan now, I just need to re-drone up my bases and then keep doing my plan, which is to get the attack upgrade for the Hydralisks, make sure I get the Baneling speed, and then use Hydra, Zerglings, and Banelings to attack my opponent. So you see there I'm making re-drones back up to my main base, re-drone back to my third base. All the ones from my original main base have gone down here to my natural. I had to remake all my queens because I lost everyone in that fight. Never started the Hydralisk upgrade, which gives them more range and movement speed. Never started the Baneling speed upgrade. Haven't restarted any of my upgrades. But my opponent did an attack that cost them a lot of money, so I don't anticipate anything happening very soon. Because I do still have tabs on the base here and the base here. I might be a tiny bit out of range, but I think I go back and fix that in a second. But my opponent does send more Dark Templar to try to further damage my economy, but I still have my Overseer here. I have made a few more army units, so I can go down here and actually deal with this time. I end up losing 1 or 2 Hydralisks, but for 4 Dark Templar, that's a totally acceptable trade. Still have this problem that I should have made a couple Zerglings and at least gone and tried to see what my opponent's doing. They have all these Stargates, and I have no clue what's going on their side of the map. But the important thing is I'm sticking to the plan I made. So, you know, if I end up losing, I go, well, I'll do a better job of scouting. But again, my opponent's done these very heavy expensive attacks, So it's hard for them to have a whole lot of units anymore. You know, assuming that they don't have this base, which I've actually moved and checked on, or this base. They could be hiding a base. I should really have overlords around it, you know, every base around here on the map. But I'm reasonably certain they've only got those couple bases, and they would be taking the next 2 bases here. Don't see hidden bases a whole lot. So this time, when I put down more spore cars, I'm putting down some spines with them too. This just prevents the Dark Templar from running by and doing what they did a minute ago. So I'm doing the same thing here, some spines and some spores, so that when I do move on the map, I'm not just going to lose to a Dark Templar counterattack. Finally got the Hydralisk upgrade going, finally got +1. I get both the attack upgrades, the missile attack and the melee attack, because I just need to damage my opponent with my units. Did I ever start the Baneling speed? Yes, it's already done even. So now I can actually make the army I'm trying to make, which is the Hydralisks with the Zerglings and the Banelings. Got the Overseers to provide detection, so when we fight I can see the Dark Templar and defeat them. These Overlords are kind of a long way out on the map to be bunched up like this if my opponent is transitioning to Sky Toss. Which it does look like they are, but I don't know that. I know that I've seen a lot of that on the ladder recently, so it's not unreasonable to expect my opponent to do it, but I have not actually gone and gathered that information via scouting. So there's my opponent, makes a big Zealot attack. But I have my army standing in a pretty reasonable spot for this. I'm already starting to morph some Banelings when this comes in. Or maybe I do it as soon as it starts to come in. So I end up taking my army down here. I get the Zerglings in front so that they will fight the Zealots and the Hydralisks can fire over them and not get hit by the Zealots, which is exactly what you want. Once my Zerglings die, I try to back up my Hydralisks to let the Banelings through so that the Banelings can explode on the Zealots, because that's what I really want. I don't want the Hydralisks fighting the Zealots and then you got taking a whole bunch of damage. So it works out. I completely defend this. Does a little bit of damage to me, but nothing super severe. I know at this point, okay, that was another very big attack. So my opponent is still just trying to do these big attacks to overwhelm me. So I'm still sticking with my plan. Make a big enough Zergling Hydra Baneling army to win the game with it. So there, my melee upgrade finished. I'm out of Zerglings though, so I can't really go and attack with my Hydralisks. I do start up some static defense for my 4th base here. I finally eventually start up my gas at some of my bases, get back to mining my gas at my main base that's been off for a really long time, because I need to just get the mineral income back before I could do that. And then continue to make army at my various weak points. Make sure my queens are hitting their injects. Oh yeah, my queen here died, so I had to replace it. But see, that one's been hit, although it's obviously missed a couple. I think this one missed a couple too. But eventually I replaced the Zerglings right here. Got the Hydralisks to go with them. Once you've got about 20 Hydralisks, that's like critical mass to go actually try to pressure your opponent. So I did start +2 attack for both, sorry, the +2 attack for the Hydralisk and the +1 armor upgrade for all my ground units. Start an infestation pit, because I'm going to go to a greater spire if the attack does not win the game. Kind of bad that I'm rallying my overlords so far forward. Should at least turn them into overseers if I'm going to do this. I assume they're not moving out because I'm just going around double checking that I've hit my injects before moving. Yeah, okay, yeah, and to make sure to take my gas too, so I can actually tech up further. You need at least 6 gas to have your tier 2 tech going full strength, and 8 gas to have hive level tier 3 tech constantly producing, getting the proper amount of upgrades. So I'm doing a better job of spending my money right now. Must just be waiting on the upgrade to finish. I just played this game a few minutes ago. Those overlords are so far forward. Rally those better. Alright, so I start moving a little bit early for the upgrade actually here. I'm getting very close to max supply, so that's why I'm actually starting to move out here. I think I realize, oh hey, my plus attack upgrades are going to finish. I need the banelings because if there are zealots over here, I want these guys to crash into the zealots. So I get up here right as my opponent's trying to take this base, which is great. This is completely just blind luck. I get up here with my whole big army, and they end up having to cancel this base because they can't just have it die to the Hydralisks and banelings that are coming by. So I do end up rolling all the banelings here, and I don't find any zealots, but I do find a whole bunch of probes over here. So I just go around the base and right-click on some probes to have them blow up on them. I'm trying to keep any alive that I can. Don't do that. Don't do well at that. But I have so many Hydralisks and still some more Zerglings that I'm just going to keep attacking right here. So during this, I do start a hive. Just finished. Get over here though, and I see my opponent has carriers. They also still have Dark Templar. I end up leaving because they gunned down my Overseer here in a minute. So I'm not just going to lose a whole bunch of units for no value. Yeah, see, they morph in a whole bunch of Dark Templar here. These are my changelings that look like the zealots there. So I do kind of a bad job and let my Overseer get too far forward. I did see there were some Dark Templar here and kept hearing them slashing. So I back up because I'm not trying to trade for nothing. Start up some more Overlords because I was kind of getting low on them from losing multiple Overseers. I started more Overseers too because I need to have those to engage that army. But I did see there are carriers there, so I need to win this game soon before my opponent can get a critical mass of carriers because they're just very difficult to beat. Don't remember if I saw the mothership morphing or not. I think I did. So I'm just trying to remax supply with my banelings to keep the ground stuff safe and my Hydralisks to shoot the air. And then some more Overseers to make sure we can see the Dark Templar. The good thing about the banelings is they will blow up and they will hit invisible units even if you can't see them. But I still just want to be able to see them so all my units can attack the Dark Templar and just take them out of action right away. I don't want to get my army trapped here, so I end up having to deal with the rocks right here. First I knock it down, then it falls here, and then you have to actually destroy this piece to get through this choke. I do a little bit of micro there to keep my banelings from blowing up on the rock. That is the worst. So I move forward. I make sure to actually micro my Overseers better this time, so that they are not in the middle of the fight. They are where they can help me see things, but they are not going to get attacked right away, because they aren't just running out front. Well, a couple do, but I do make sure to keep a couple back. So eventually my Hydralisks get over here and can just, it's enough to win the game. Because I have detection. Also, Mothership cloaks everything that is underneath it. So I really do need the detection to do this. I get all their carriers, and that's the end of the game. At this point, it's just a formality for me to finish destroying all my opponent's buildings. That's the game.